Hi, everybody out there in Zoom land. I'm Sarah Fazal from ArtsConnect, and we are here tonight for the Artist Inc. Topeka WorkShare. I will start by saying that we are the artists, and I and the Mid-America Arts, all the presenters basically, are here in a Zoom room, and it feels really weird to not be able to see you all out there, your smiling faces, but we hope that you can hear us and that it looks good and that it sounds good. And we are just so glad that you're here. Tonight is a really special night for the artists who have participated in the Artist Inc. program, for the facilitators who have been a part of it. And it has just been, this is week 8, and it has been an incredible experience so far. I'm going to start by turning it over to Kathy Liao, who is the Artist Inc. staff there at the Mid-America Arts Alliance, to tell all of you a little bit about what Artist Inc. is.
Hi, everyone. Welcome tonight. This is so exciting. Thank you, Sarah. Artist Inc. is a program of Mid-America Arts Alliance. It is founded back in 2009, and this program has reached thousands of individual artists of all disciplines across the Mid-America Arts Alliance region. This program has been delivered to artists in Arkansas and Nebraska and Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, and we are so glad to be working with these amazing artists here in Topeka. In thinking of Artist Inc., we really think about Artist Inc. program as a way of empowering artists of all disciplines by connecting them to tools and resources and opportunities necessary to develop their entrepreneurial skills, to strengthen their artistic practice. And this program is rooted in the belief that given the right training and the right tools, artists can be some of the most successful businesses in the region. And again, it's been such a pleasure to learn alongside these artists these last 7 weeks, and I can't wait to see where they'll go after this. So from there, I'm gonna hand it back to Sarah and to the artist, and I am so excited to see their work.
So I also want to thank you, Kathy, for that intro. I kind of personally have wanted to bring Artist Inc. to Topeka for the whole time I have been working for ArtsConnect, which is 8 years, and it's just such a dream to have it here. It would not be able to be here without the support not only of the Mid-America Arts Alliance and the National Endowment for the Arts, but also the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission. That is our state level arts agency. A bit about ArtsConnect. We are Topeka's umbrella nonprofit multidisciplinary arts organization. We do programs like this. We are getting ready to create a master plan for the cultural sector in Topeka this coming year. We have a space in Noto. We help with the First Friday Art Walks. We've painted murals. And this Artist Inc. program really feels like it feels like the right moment with COVID and with so many things that have been difficult, to be able to bring these artists together to get to know each other and strengthen their own artistic practices has been really amazing. And because I'm not really allowed to do one of these without asking someone for money, we are a nonprofit organization and we subsist on donations. If you're watching on Boxcast, there's a donate link below. If you are watching anywhere else, you can find us at artstopeka.org. And with that, one really important thank you. Carice Mapes and 785 Magazine, she spent at least her whole day today helping with tech, helping make sure that we look good and sound good, which I think on your normal Zoom call isn't quite as important as a Zoom call that is featuring the work of artists. And so thank you to Carice for making this possible. And with that, I also want to thank our Topeka Facilitator team. Yay! So this program is run by artists. I'm like the only not artist. And so to Huascar, to Marty, Betsy, Monette, Michael, and Kelly, who are all generative artists who have led this program, who have been teachers, who have been mentors, who have been, who have kind of revealed themselves and been really generous with that space. Thank you. We couldn't do it without you. With that, we will get this show on the road. How this is going to work tonight is that I am going to turn this microphone over to Huascar Medina, who will introduce the first group of presenters. So each facilitator has a small group that they have been working really closely with. And so each facilitator will say a few words about their group, and then each person in that group will present their work shares, which are 5-minute timed presentations of their work. And I hope that you all enjoy. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all the artists who have spent the last 7 weeks learning and growing and fighting with PowerPoint with us. So, Huascar, it's all you.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Kathy. I've had the pleasure and privilege to work with 4 artists in Topeka: Brook, Robert Tapley, Bustamante, Davin M. Morrison, and Ryan Wills. If I had to pick one word to describe these artists, it would be important. And this is a word I would use for any artist in their practice. I believe artists have a story to share and a message that they can lend to communities and their cities to change the culture that they're living in. So without further ado, our first Artist Inc. Topeka WorkShare participant is artist Kim B. Brook.
Hello, my story begins in South Korea as Chunhee Kim, number 6488. 6488 was the number given to me by the orphanage I went to after I was found in a box next to train tracks. When I was 2.5 years old, a couple who immigrated from the Netherlands to New Jersey adopted me. No longer was I number 6488. Instead, I became their youngest daughter and the number 6 sibling. While I looked different with brown skin, brown eyes, and black hair, I was loved and treated equally by my parents and siblings. Outside of my family, however, existed a different reality. Growing up and figuring out my identity in a primarily white community and family could be confusing. My survival was, I learned, based on 2 things: being a cultural chameleon and sharing meals together. The most special meals were served on what we called the anniversary dishes. Those were the dishes my father gave my mother as a wedding gift and represented to me belonging, community, and love. The impact and memories of the anniversary dishes came into play many years later when I decided to change my college major from linguistics to ceramics. Even though I was taught by my immigrant parents that art was a hobby, not a career, I decided to pursue what brought me joy after attempting other careers which did not bring me joy. And as a newly declared art student at the age of 35, I again found my way in a community where I was different. There were difficulties for sure. Older than the other students, I had different priorities. Also, I was still brown in a sea of white. My ceramics fell into the same pattern. My peers primarily worked with stoneware clay, sculptures, and wood firing. I, however, wanted to make functional work from porcelain clay. So once more, my survival revolved around being a cultural chameleon and meals together. So amidst all the late night snacks, pizza parties, and potlucks, I began using porcelain clay. An aha moment happened when I experimented with a process called water etching. With it, I could give my pieces subtle texture and still maintain the integrity of the porcelain by leaving unglazed parts and using minimal color. It also allowed me to focus on giving my pieces space, volume, and breadth instead of colorful glazes. But the strongest impact on my art practice was my mother's death. After her death, my deep sadness made my days dull and gray. I didn't know what to do, so once more, I survived by being a chameleon and sharing meals. I cooked and I fed people. I fed lots of food to lots of people. Sometimes 2 people, sometimes 400 people. I continued taking classes in different art mediums, and I had another aha moment in a class called Social Stitchery. There I learned with other students how to crochet and knit scarves for children. My mother was an avid crocheter, and I felt her warmth as I was learning to crochet. In class conversations about family yarn traditions, I saw the role of art in communities in a new way. Gradually, color started coming back into my days and manifested itself in my art. I started using bright colors, bright yarns, vibrant ceramic transfers, and gold luster. I fell in love with the color possibilities of yarn, paper, and ink. I am still a chameleon, but now being a chameleon is a celebration of possibilities and community. I continue to pursue learning, advancing skills, and leading community-based projects. Along with artist collaborations, teaching workshops, private lessons, I also teach a week-long summer art camp in rural Western Kansas. Also, pre-COVID, I accepted a position as a visual arts teacher for the Douglas County Juvenile Detention Center. This work is by one of my students in a beginning needle felting class. As one of the recipients of a Rebuilding East 9th Street grant in Lawrence, Kansas, I taught and guided Lawrence residents of all ages to make meaningful yarn murals. These pictures are student works of mine. And these are pictures from the East 9th Street project, Yarn It Forward. So during this journey of becoming Kimbrook artist, I am realizing how art can impact the possibilities and flaws in our social structures. With love and encouragement from my family and friends, my small voice is number 6488 is learning to ring from the mountains. With the power of community, I am grateful to have a bountiful life. I invite you to come with me, to go together when we cannot go alone, to join our voices to lift each other up, and to create more than our imaginations can dream. Thank you. Okay. You did it. I did it. It went.
Okay, so it's showtime. Okay, am I on? Am I going? Okay, so wait. Hello, my name is Robert Tapley Bustamante. My artist name is Visual Soul, which I formed into a company brand back in the year 2000 while living in Kansas City for 2 decades. I have a BFA in graphic design. I go by many names. Some call me Busta, Big Bobberino, Weirdo, to the heck if I know. Buckle your seatbelts as I delve into my WorkShare presentation. Okay. Am I a weirdo? Yeah, so what? You would be too, raised around highly questionable characters spewing from TV wearing spandex. I'm an 80s kid influenced by a buffet of creative gumbo, as I affectionately call it. I witnessed many forms of artistic bravery by innovators who let me know it was okay to be daring, bold, and strange. Simply put, I am a biracial kind of high-powered creative mutant. My financial years leading up to me discovering my artistic talent was devastatingly lonely. No one knew what to make of me, and neither did I until I met this very special woman. She was from a prestigious design firm. Her name is DK Holland, and she's a founding partner of the Inquiring Minds Institute and formed a kids council to encourage kids to be curious and courageous about their futures. So this piece at the left is titled The Freedom to Pursue Our Dreams, and the piece at right is titled Incognito, which won Best of Show at a Lenexa City Hall art show centering around the theme of Latino artworks. Both pieces can be seen in my art show at ArtsConnect, currently on display in Noto. Sketchbooks are a deeply important part of my artistic process. This is how I value my thoughts as an artist, by having complete freedom to explore ideas and concepts in a space free from prying eyes and mouth breathers. These pages do not get seen by many on purpose. It is for me and me only. Do not ask to see. If I invite you in, it is because I value your opinion. Stencils. Stencils are a simple way for me to control where the spray paint goes and where it doesn't go. Here's a stencil I made out of a plain piece of poster board. First, I sketch my intended subject matter, then I hand cut with an X-Acto blade. Stencils enable me to replicate forms and to iterate different color combinations rapidly. The ability to quickly iterate concepts and intended art direction are skills I've honed over the years. Sometimes a rapid sketch will suffice, but for a larger art projects and murals, I find that a tighter Photoshop comp is very necessary to alleviate a client's anxiety. Concepts shown in context have enabled me to greatly further the visual dialogue and cut through potential project hangups. Urban renewal. My overarching motivation is to beautify an existing roached out urban surface, which is falling out of usefulness and into disrepair. I strive to create beauty where none expected to exist. I love seeing the look of surprise and curiosity on someone's face upon seeing unexpected art in an unexpected place in public. Yeah. So how to sum up a project of such scale and importance in 20 seconds? Well, I just used 3 or 4 of them. So this is proof positive of the power of public art can have as stimulating hearts and minds towards positive, lasting impact. Created in 2018, the goal of this project was to create a visual embodiment of the importance of kids of all colors being able to be in one classroom, learning and growing together. This was also created in 2018. This was a collaboration between myself and a local artist. We were hired by the Topeka Parks and Rec to have an idea about rehabbing a basketball court in a barely lifeless community park. This is where creative placemaking can serve as a spark plug for members of the immediate community to feel more excited about their surroundings. The kids' happiness shown here means everything to me. My sunflower bee mural that's shown here had 3 goals from the client: show our state flower, our state insect, and celebrate the critically important right of women to vote by displaying the historical women's suffrage sash. Shown here is the amazing client, Angel Zimmerman, a woman who is the embodiment of selfless giving towards her community. Live painting. I love some live painting. This is me after painting a canned Roxas in 2011 to the Black Keys. I got to paint the Primus, Doomtree, and Eminem, to name a few. My goal was to capture a band's energy and essence in minimal time without hesitation. This represented a major breakthrough in bravery as I was able to focus in a sea of drunken madness like a Zen master and create. Yeah, that was nice. Collaboration. Collaboration is a very important component of my artistic efforts. So is empowering and involving my teenage daughter, Marissa, in projects to enable her to realize her creative power at a younger age than I was able to. Shown here are the painted sugar skulls sourced directly from Oaxaca, Mexico for the Day of the Dead installation at the prestigious Nelson Atkins Museum of Art in Kansas City. This is my street art hustle. I basically say that stickers are an important part of street art culture, a way to propel and further artistic mystique. There is a power in repetition which feeds upon itself. I created the noodle shape originally with ink on paper in 2012 and have extended it into stickers, t-shirts, screen prints, and the laser etched noodle at the right. It is a modular way for me to experiment with repetition, just as Warhol did. Oh, this one's great. I will wrap up by saying that details always matter and that even the best of us can overlook simple things. Shown here is the envelope I received to join this awesome group and my humorous reaction to seeing my name misspelled. They say stay humble. Well, hey guys, you did it for me, and I'm very humble indeed. And I just want to say stay in the spirit of loving, and thank you, everybody. That's great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Davin Morrison, and I've lived in Topeka, Kansas for over 2 decades. I'm a multimedia artist, sci-fi writer, DIY cosplayer, and a solo entrepreneur who runs 2 businesses. Today, I will be sharing my art journey with you guys. As long as I can remember, I have always created art. Like most young children, I regularly drew in coloring books or made little doodles, but nothing too serious. It wasn't until I was 12 that I really started being more of an artist. I honestly became an artist because I was a huge nerd first. I really love Star Wars, and one day I got the notion to draw one of my action figures, and it hit me, whoa, I can actually draw? From there, I kept drawing more action figures and duplicating art from many Star Wars art books and encyclopedias that I was inspired by. Even in high school, my love for Star Wars and making art never declined. I ended up only taking 1 visual art class in high school, but it showed my skills enough that many of my peers and teachers were encouraging me to do more with my art abilities. So I made the choice that I would continue my education by studying art in college. I decided to go to college at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas, and pursue a Bachelor of Art degree. Even though the first few years were mostly gen ed classes, I never stopped working on art. One of the neatest things I got to try out during this time was darkroom photography. The class started my curiosity with trying new art mediums. The photograph shown here was actually made it into the Mulvane Art Museum student show in 2016, which is a juror show. As I continued college, I did keep growing in my drawing abilities, but I also put focus into trying out other mediums. Originally, I really only considered 2D artwork, but after taking 2 ceramic courses, my eyes were open to all the possibilities 3D work could bring. During college, I was also able to take several sculpture classes and got to try my hand at welding, carving, casting, and more techniques. Those classes made me become more comfortable making larger art pieces as well. A summer landscaping class not only grew my painting abilities, but also helped me learn how to become more relaxed and fluid with my art, as before I was very stiff and precise whenever I made work. In 2017, I was blessed to go on a 4-month study abroad trip through a program called Semester at Sea. I navigated the globe and visited a dozen countries through this experience. During and after this trip, a lot of my work was inspired by the many cultures and experiences and the ocean I lived on. The paper cranes shown here were based off display cases filled with hundreds of donated paper cranes near the Children's Monument in Hiroshima, Japan, while the Ganeshan dancers were inspired by a dance performance shared with us during a naming ceremony at a small village in Ghana. Even after I graduated college, I continued to have the desire to try out new mediums, so I experimented with mixed media. Since I still really enjoyed drawing, I wanted to discover ways to expand it. I tried combining drawings with painted canvas, and I also tried putting real butterfly wings that I found on my colored pencil drawings. In 2019, I made a huge leap and started my own art business, Sparks and Steam. Having a shop where I could display and sell my art was an important step for my career as an artist. I was able to become fully self-employed in the beginning of 2020 with the help of my other small business. My hope for my art business, Sparks and Steam, is to get it to be fully sustaining and for it to be able to help support me and my family. I'm also planning on publishing my first sci-fi novel through Sparks and Steam, ideally in 2022. Also in 2019, I started my first art series, the Mannequin series. This body of work combines my love for the steampunk aesthetic with my enjoyment of figure drawing and costuming. Each drawing features a mannequin-esque figure that symbolizes a certain emotion or emotionally charged topic. I've always been a very emotional person, and this series gives me an outlet that allows people to visually comprehend what I'm and others are feeling. One of the features I enjoy adding in each of these pieces is minute details and lots of symbolism. Some of the symbolism is very obvious, such as anxiety, having butterflies in her stomach, or self-help's heartache, but other symbols are a bit more obscure. Take my work, Shyness, for example. She has a cage on her head to signify that shy people often want to hide and not participate in conversation, as shown here. She is also holding opera glasses because shy people are very observant to what is around them. I plan to continue adding more work to this series, and I actually have several notebooks filled with sketches of ideas. I will also be expanding the series by making the style of artwork into 3D sculptures. I've also recently been exploring drawing with marker. For the last couple of years, I've participated in the drawing challenge Inktober, hosted by artist Jake Parker. How it works is there's a drawing prompt every day in October. The participants then have to draw each prompt with ink or marker. By doing this challenge, I've discovered I really like drawing with marker, and I still frequently do so. Another medium I enjoy is what I like to call drawing with paper. I do this by cutting out various kinds of colored paper or elements of drawings that I make and use those to make pictures. Many of these showcase the steampunk style, which I love to incorporate into my work. And if you're not sure what steampunk is, it is basically a style that incorporates aspects of the Victorian lifestyle with industrial sci-fi elements, 2 things I really enjoy. And that is my art journey so far. I will continue to work on my mannequin series as well as my paper drawing style. I will also be making more sculptural work in the future. If you would like to keep updated on my progress, you can follow my business pages for Facebook and Instagram at Sparks and Steam. You can contact me at my email, devinmmorrison@gmail.com. There are 2 M's in that, so don't get confused. And for more info about me and my shop, check out my website, sparksandsteam.com. Thank you all so much for your time. Stay awesome and God bless.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Wills. I'm a singer-songwriter, musician, performer, and recording artist from Topeka, Kansas. I primarily create acoustic pop and alternative folk music, although I am certainly inspired and influenced by other genres as well. Writing, performing, and singing have been a part of who I am ever since I was little. In fact, as far back as I can remember, I always thought my life was a movie and I was attempting to write the soundtrack to it.
Said I'd leave, but I just stayed. And now this place is showing age.
My songs are at times paradoxical in nature. I like to create lyrics and melodies that are non-dual, allowing the listener to both simultaneously experience the pain and the beauty that life has to offer. The song you hear in the background is entitled Storm That I Once Was. It's part of my 3rd studio album entitled Kansas. There's some other examples of work from that project.
Take me back to Kansas and lead me by the hand. Only our love gets through.
The visuals you see are individual examples of cover art that I created for each track. I also had the pleasure of working with my dad, who produced, engineered, and did all of the instrumentation.
Did I sing for love or just for validation?
There are certain themes I visit in my
Did I look for my God or did I look for my salvation?
spirituality.
Did I die awake or did I live asleep?
Introspection.
Was I dancing on the surface? Was I drowning in the deep?
Meaning. And of course, love.
One day she'll change her mind. She'll look you in the eyes and she'll turn around. When you feel like hope is lost and you never get across, well, hold on. 'Cause when it turns around.
I am also one half of the duo Fox and Mills with my good friend and partner Greg Fox. We have performed several shows across the great state of Kansas, ranging from intimate house concerts to larger themed events. One of the things that's been the biggest gift from being in that group is learning the true power of collaboration. It's been invaluable to have a fellow singer-songwriter to bounce ideas off of, as well as create with. That said, we've always tried to honor each other's individual art as well as craft together. In 2016, we released our first full-length album entitled Parallel Lives. The title was derived from the realization that we had similar journeys. We both left home with art and music, only to be led back to where we began. Lately, I've been creating work that focuses on the subject of the sacred object, that illusory item that would make one whole and complete. I used to think that's what music was. I now realize my music is created in a continual pursuit of never finding it. My songs are no longer destinations, but mile markers along the way. It's funny, my dreams have started to become true the moment I no longer needed them to be happy. Most of the time I am content now creating in the pleasure of my own home, surrounded by my family and the everyday chaos of life. I'm currently working on my 4th album, which I hope to release at the end of the year on vinyl. For information on it, as well as access to the rest of my work, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Ryan Wills Music. Thank you so much, and much love.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I sure do apologize. I couldn't hear the transition, so hopefully everybody can hear me. I am one of 2 co-facilitators for Group 2. My name is Marty Hillard. I was really fortunate to facilitate alongside Kelly Yarbrough, a wonderful artist that I really enjoyed getting to know. Very excited to see and help share the WorkShare presentations from Group 2, Anthony Braun, Angela Lexow, Kyra Miller, Paul Rudy, Nathan Short. We just really had an excellent time getting to know one another, being able to share space with one another. And I think we had some really great breakthroughs very early on. So just really proud of these 5 individuals and their willingness to share themselves and share their art with us. And I'll go ahead and pass it to Kelly so she can share a few words as well.
Thanks, Marty. It's been an honor to be part of the program these past 8 weeks, and a sincere honor to co-facilitate with Marty. The professionalism and the experience that you bring to this has just blown me away, and yes, it's been a privilege to work with you. Everyone in our small group was fantastic. I just really appreciated how everyone came together so quickly and brought honesty and authenticity. And this program is not a small amount of work, and everyone really gave 100% every week. And I think we all had a really meaningful time together. So I'm very grateful to all of you. We are the only small group with 2 facilitators, and my name being Kelly and Marty being Marty. We did kind of fall into a pretty sweet small group name. We are Team Kmart. So I just want to throw that out there. So go Team Kmart. Y'all are going to do awesome. Can't wait to hear.
Right. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'd first like to say thanks to everyone at Art Inc. and my facilitators. I'm Anthony Braun. I'm a project manager, a writer, and an artist. And my story basically starts in rural southern Utah. I had to carry water and cut wood. I'm probably one of the only people that you'll meet that had to do their homework by candlelight. And so I had to build these fires for my family, and I used National Geographic magazines to do that. And that really gave me my view or scope of the world. In a lot of ways, that's how I got to understand the world and its vastness, and through projects. And so my art journey really starts about a year ago. I decided that I wanted to focus my art or my craft on capturing different things that I felt in the community. Or so, for example, this one that's titled Seattle, I wanted to show the chaos that Seattle has with its traffic and whatnot. And with Votes for Women, I wanted to really showcase women and their ability to really make decisions and to really do things for themselves. I'm a big advocate of that, and so I wanted to represent that in a piece. And so continuing on, my art's evolved a lot, and so what I really try to showcase is our characters and character development. And so pieces like 7 a.m. shows the discipline of a character, of a woman that is up and at our shop at 7 a.m. And it really speaks to just the discipline and what that takes to do routine things routinely. And then with Settlers, I wanted to show how, well, I'll continue on with Serenade. That one thing I wanted to showcase here was this love affair between this soldier and this lady. This is where I start to get into a little bit more absurdity, because I think that absurdity is a little bit valuable in this world. And so that continues on into Enough, which basically is to, it's a political piece. It kind of showcases what's been going on in the community and what's been going on in the world politically. So I wanted to showcase that. And then another part of people are these different elements of ourselves, which I wanted to showcase in the Sailor. He's kind of composed of all these different pieces that make up his personality or who he is, but maybe speak to more of him as a character as well, all the way down into what Victory Run represents. So this is a piece on PTSD and being able to overcome it, and the contrast between black and white. Now, on my art journey, I've been really fortunate to get this piece in a contemporary art gallery in Phoenix. This was big for me because it was one of the first pieces that made it within the past year, and really got me a seat, I would say, at the table. So this slide kind of shows how I'm in the exhibit and how I'm with a bunch of, well, 85 other professional artists, which was, again, just a big win for me. And it was cool talking to the curator about that, because she said, well, you're one of 85 and over 1,000 people applied for this. But my art, like myself, has continued to evolve. And so I wanted to move away away from everything being so structured and perfect. And so I wanted to get a little bit bombastic. And so with this piece, Restricted, I wanted to really showcase how I could use collage and a lot of different styles to be able to make that evolution possible. And as I continue to evolve, I'm starting to see more importance in the abstract as well, because I realized that what that showed, like what abstract pieces are able to convey, is this feeling of connection or just more energy and emotion that you can't necessarily get, or that maybe you'd be trying too hard to get in other pieces. So that passion I want to show is that, you know, the passion is there, and sometimes it's hard to talk about and speak about, but it's still there. Now, if you want to connect with me, or if you're interested in collaborating and whatnot, I've provided my business card and a QR code. That's all I have for you guys. But again, I just want to thank everybody so much for your time, and my facilitators, who were absolutely amazing. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Marty. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. Thank you. Thank everyone so much.
Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Angela Lexow. I'm an artist, a yogi, a wife, and a mom. The quote on the screen is from Frida Kahlo's, one of my favorites, and it describes kind of how I approach my art practice. I create because I need to, and I create using whatever medium I feel drawn to at the moment. After college, I moved around a few times, and I was trying to figure out what came next. I had a lot of jobs back then. Some were art related, some were not. But I was lucky enough to work in a gallery in downtown Kansas City, and also as an art instructor at a art center, both kind of helping me figure out what I was going to do in many ways. That time I was experimenting with flowers and landscapes and abstraction, kind of trying to find my style and maybe even my medium. After feeling a little frustrated artistically, I turned to 3D art and fine art gourds. I had always loved shop class in middle school and ceramics in college, and this kind of felt like a combination of the two. Boards have so many possibilities, both functional and decorative. I use dyes and paints and stains, antlers, beads, pine needles, and pyrography to create my pieces. I love the challenges that some of the gourds have, both in their shape, but also in their inherent inherent kind of quirks and the weirdnesses of their surfaces and in the skin. The challenge of transforming a humble gourd into a work of art was always a fun adventure. The image in the middle is actually of gourds. They are egg gourds that were turned into ornaments, 4-season ornaments for a commission. Gourds took me on many adventures. The next slide here, there's an article that was, all the pieces there were created for a show completely of decorative but functional funeral urns. Gourds took me around the country for shows and for festivals. My favorite being going down to Taos, New Mexico, which has always inspired me on many levels, both in my 3D and my 2D. Well, spending years on gourds, I started painting again. I had followed a New Mexico daily painter, and she inspired me through her show to complete a 150 show. So I did 150 paintings in a year. I was really unsure of how I could do it or if I had the space to do it, but I went ahead and put it out there in the universe via Facebook, and a gallery director gave me the time and the space to do it. The 150 show was actually completed in less than a year because of framing and prep and all that. It really taught me some time management. I had to do 10 to 12 pieces a month to stay on track. It also loosened me up from the idea of having to have a perfect painting. The piece in the middle, the painted piece number 150, was my actually my palette. I always had people coming in asking to buy it. From there, I began working almost entirely in painting and back into abstraction largely. These paintings were for a 2-person show based on artists and movements that inspired us. I have so many artists that inspire me, but 3 that I show here were Mark Rothko, Robert Motherwell, and Richard Devenporn. A side project I like to work on when I can is steampunk art. Steampunk is just fun and includes cosplay, and I love the kind of odd little world that steampunk creates. The bottom left is a Nerf gun reimagined for cosplay, and the birds are some of my favorite things to create. They literally fly off of my shelf out of my studio as soon as I get them done. While I was working on the 150 show, I collected quite a lot of poetry, and I used some even then for inspiration. And these pieces were based entirely on poetry by Pablo Neruda, Max Ehrmann, and Ted Hughes. I still have quite a stack of poetry, and I always am looking for inspiring words, both from local and famous artists, to create future pieces with. I've been a practicing yogi and a yoga teacher for 8 years, and I owned a studio for nearly 5 years. The tenets of yoga influenced my life and art, and I try to use them in all aspects of my life. I find religious imagery fascinating, and I use it frequently. I've also started to create jewelry. Shown in the middle here is a mala. It's very much like a rosary, and it's used during meditation. I'm obsessed with anatomical hearts. I love that they can be symbolic, wearing your heart on your sleeve, or they can be realistic and graphic. These hearts were commissioned, and they have natural and spiritual elements added to them. And the background has been collaged with vintage heart medication prescriptions. I continue to give myself challenges. I try to give myself at least one a year, and that's usually in October for Inktober, which is Halloween themed. Sometimes I do some in the spring that I make up my own. These challenges all have prompts, so I use the prompt to create a small piece a day based on that prompt. The challenges are a great way to help me boost my creativity, to keep my skills sharp, and to just get me kind of remotivated. Over the past year or so, I've been connecting with the outdoors and nature, trying to be creating just a little less abstractly. My current work has been mostly drawings on paper. I've been exploring flora and fauna, seasons, and the wheel of the year, and myths and legends. I'm currently locally showing at Two Wolves Artist Den. I'm active on Facebook and especially on Instagram, which is where I post most of my challenge drawings and all of my new work. So please check out my social media or my website for more about me or my work, or if you want to connect. Thanks for listening.
Okay. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Okay. Hi there. My name is Kyra Miller, and I'm a visual artist from Valley Falls, Kansas. I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Washburn University in 2020, and I currently work as a freelance artist out of my home studio. In this presentation, I'll be talking about how my work has evolved over the past 5 years. These next 4 slides are from my Creatures of Habit series, and even though I work with a variety of mediums, the central theme across most of my work explores the complex relationship humans have with comfort. This theme is important to me as being out of my own comfort zone has and continues to be deeply challenging for me. The inspiration behind most of my work has stemmed from moments in my life where I've had to adjust to abrupt changes. And through interactions between animals, plants, and objects in my work, I create narratives that are metaphorical for how humans react to being removed from their comfort zone. And not only do I want to capture their response to unfamiliar experiences, but also how they navigate them and grow from them. And animals are an important subject in my work. I have always been inspired by how they react to change or discomfort. They deploy unique defense mechanisms when threatened, such as this armadillo, or they evolve characteristics over time to better fit into their environment. On the other hand, when humans are faced with change, their defense mechanisms are more subtle or completely hidden behind an emotional facade. And therefore, human emotion takes the form of animals in my work, telling stories through their body language and behavior. I use them as an expression of the inner struggle humans experience when faced with unfamiliar circumstances. So my junior year of college, I had the opportunity to study abroad in Belgium, and it made me realize that change that we actively choose to pursue can still be extremely difficult. And as I arrived and unpacked my suitcase, I became overwhelmed with emotion and begged my mom to let me come home. I was absolutely terrified, and I couldn't see myself getting past it. My mom responded, "If you still feel this way in 2 weeks, you're welcome to come back." And I agreed to stick it out, and I am so glad that I did, because art became a way for me to cope with these intense feelings of homesickness and navigate culture shock. And as each day went by, I drew about the experiences where I felt discomfort. I rendered the unfamiliar environments and experiences in a more abstract style, while I used a familiar style to depict moments in which I felt comfort through newly acquired habits and routines. And these habits included cooking familiar recipes, decorating my room, and going for repeated walks to familiarize myself with town. Towards the end of my trip, I finally grew to love the town that I was living in, and all the things that scared me at first were things that I eventually looked forward to the most. And when I returned to the United States, I definitely wasn't expecting to have a hard time adjusting back to what normal life was. In fact, I don't think I ever returned to the same life. I actually felt more confident, having conquered a huge personal challenge, and I began experimenting more with my art practice. I began trying new styles and mediums such as printmaking, ceramics, and multimedia sculpture. I even played around with size, as you can see from this massive print that we had to use a small steamroller for instead of a press. I became fascinated with the ability to turn elements from my illustrative work into tangible objects, giving the viewer a different perspective of my work. I began looking for ways to combine 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional mediums to express the discomfort of living between familiarity and the unknown. I also like that 3-dimensional work also allows the viewer to interact with the pieces in an entirely new way. So through the sculptures titled Birdhouse and Improvisation, I wanted to encourage the viewer to investigate all sides of the structures and make little discoveries, such as the small porcelain bird tucked away inside. I then began experimenting even further by creating multimedia sculptures. I wanted the viewer to become even more immersed in my work. So this particular piece is an installation of 4 infinity mirrors that form the shape of a window. And it's hard to tell through the photographs, but when the viewer looks at it in person, it appears as if the moths go on forever, and it kind of encourages them to lean into it and look further. More recently, I've been incorporating functionality into my pieces while still sticking to the theme of animal behavior and defense mechanisms. And as you view my work, whether it be an illustration, a sculpture, or a coffee cup, I hope that it creates an awareness to the constant state of adaptation that humans experience during their lifetime, because I feel like the moments we branch out from what is familiar to us should be recognized, no matter how small. And if you're interested in seeing more of my work, I have a website, KyraMillerArt.com, or you can follow me on social media, Kyra Miller Art or @KyraMillerArt on Instagram.
Thank you all for listening.
Hi there, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paul Rudy. Throughout my career, my creative energy's gone in a lot of different directions, but I've always loved making things. Here's a couple of my elementary school creations, a battery-powered boat and a Pinewood Derby car that won Best Design even if it didn't make it to the end of the track. 5 decades later, I'm a professor and composer, and here's a part of a piece I wrote for jazz great Bobby Watson. My electronic music is inspired by my diversity of experiences and uses sounds I've collected from all over the world. These landscapes allow the listener to have their own unique journey through the music. I composed 6 CDs leading up to the winter solstice in 2012 that are personal stories of awakening, healing, and transformation. In 2014, I didn't really want to be here anymore, but on Halloween night, I started capturing strange and wonderful images on my land. The mystery of life revealed itself and reignited my flame as the energies I had been composing with came to life in photographs. I've been really blessed with interesting collaborations over the past decade, like tuning the 6 wind chimes inside this tower in Merriam, Kansas, or writing a musical description of my friend Jay Hoppler for inclusion in his poem Obituary in an upcoming poetry book release, or studying the impact of sound on safety in the operating room. But my favorite collaborations since moving on to 70 acres in northeast Kansas in 2012 are with my land, where I build sacred spaces for people to come rest and encounter themselves more deeply. I teach, hold space, and create experiences for others. A disembodying experience as a child catapulted me into a lifetime of playing in the sandbox of music, sound, and vibration. All of my endeavors have in common listening deeply, not just with my ears, but with my whole being. And that has led me to a personal daily practice of sound and to collaborative healing arts, helping others go deeper into their own integrated human experience. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in.
Hey, hi, hello, everybody. Yeah, that's me. My name is Nathan Dale Short, and I am a performing artist. From the time I was 10, I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing. Ironically enough, though, that's not how it started out. My mom made me audition for my first show because I was too cool to be doing theater, especially Dr. Seuss. My first show was Seussical the Musical. I've been in innumerable shows since then, including shows based on Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, Dickens' unfinished novel, and even the entire Shakespearean canon, all in 90 minutes. Theater's often felt like the place I feel most at home. It gives me the freedom to explore feelings I wouldn't necessarily get to explore otherwise. From the Salem witch trials and the Crucible, to hoisting around a dead body a la Weekend at Bernie's and the farcical Too Many Cooks, to having to pay for the privilege to pee in Urinetown. One of my favorite roles I've ever played was Emile DeBeck in South Pacific. Not only was this a dream role, but it garnered me one of the greatest opportunities of my life. In college, we participated in the American College Theater Festival, hosted by the Kennedy Center, a week-long festival designated to recognizing excellence in college theater. One of the workshops there was a musical theater intensive where we worked with industry professionals and set up a cabaret performance at the end of the festival. Following this particular performance at this particular festival, I received a letter informing me I was one of 50 people from around the world selected for the Open Jar Institute. The Open Jar Institute is a week-long Broadway theater intensive. We had audition coaching, dance and vocal master classes with industry professionals, met with agents, saw 4 Broadway shows, and so much more all in 1 week. I met some of the best friends I've ever made during that week, and I still keep in touch with a lot of them. I came back to my senior year at Emporia State University with a fever, and the only prescription was more theater. My last show at Emporia was Big River, which is based on Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I played Pap Finn, Huck's dad, and the Duke, one of the con men for those who know the story. Opening night, following one of the big musical numbers led by the con men, the Royal Nonsuch, there was a slight technical issue. One of my favorite moments came from this technical issue. The scene following the big musical number was at a funeral, and in the middle of the stage was this long thread hanging from the rafters up above. It had been established prior that my character going along with the con was deaf and dumb. People could not get this string down from the ceiling, no matter how hard they tried, because they were trying to be discreet. So I was determined that I was going to do it. I made my entrance, deaf and dumb, crossed to the string and began to investigate. I began to bat it like a cat. I looked up to see where it was coming from, bat it like a cat some more. And my partner in the scene, the king, the other con man, shot me a look. I yanked the string down, balled it up, threw it in my top hat, and put my hat back on. We had to stop the show for laughter. At ACTF, the American College Theater Festival, the highlight was the Irene Ryan Acting Scholarship. Upward of 300 people were nominated from our region every year. I was nominated all 4 years at Emporia. My first year went fine. My second year went a little better. My third year, I made it to the semifinal round and placed 17th. They took the top 16 to finals. My final year, we took second. Following Emporia, I moved to Topeka in 2018 and quickly found a home. I was in 4 shows in less than 6 months back to back. I felt a sense of belonging in Topeka that I'd never felt before, and it was due in large part to my theatrical experiences. Then COVID hit. I won't regale you with how hard it was being a performer and not being able to perform, but it sucked, and any other performer would attest to that. By that same token, it pushed me to be creative in how I got my fulfillment, and it led me on to my next role. Artistic director of Sunrise Theater Company, founded in 2020 in Topeka, Kansas. Sunrise aims to present shows that are geared more toward adult audiences with nittier, grittier stuff that is unique to other theatrical productions. There's a niche demand for evening entertainment, and quite frankly, I wanted to be the one to fill that niche. As artistic director, I'm learning more than I ever thought I would. Starting a theater company is a lofty endeavor. It's often felt like each time I figure out one thing, something else that I hadn't thought of pops up. However, it also gives me the opportunity to create something that's genuinely my own. My first show for the season, the 2021 season, is The Realistic Joneses by Will Eno, and it goes up virtually May 7th and 8th. This show is the quirky, macabre comedy about mortality and how 4 people cope with it. I'm working with 4 of the most professional actors I've ever worked with, all based here in Topeka. We're having so much fun and are hopeful that although this isn't going to be a live production, the show is demonstrative of what we aim to do. I am a lot of things. I am enthusiastic, obnoxious, kind, understanding, passionate, empathetic, funny. I'm an actor, a singer, a dancer, a DJ sometimes. I am a creative. I'm an artist. If you'd like to find out more about my work, visit at sunrisetheatercompany.com, buy tickets, and check out The Realistic Joneses. You can also reach me at sunrisetheatertopeka@gmail.com or find me on Facebook. Thanks so much.
So hey, everybody out there, we are going to do a little intermission, get the participants a chance to stretch their legs, and we will see you back here in about 10 minutes. So don't go anywhere, grab a drink, grab what you need, and we'll do the other half of our artist presentations when we get back in 10 minutes.
You guys did great.
Yes, everyone's been doing great. Awesome. Woo! Love it. Good
I
luck
like
to everybody
being able to
coming
see
up.
everyone's work. We haven't, we've seen in our small groups, but I haven't been able to see everything from everyone. It's so awesome.
I mean, great.
It's been great.
Excellent.
It's my sister and my boyfriend.
What happened?
Kim, you have a whole watch party going on. That is fun.
I know.
My other sister's doing it.
Everyone, you're so amazing. So, and so looking forward to everybody else's.
So are you, Kim. Everyone's presentation has just blown me away.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Inspires me to want to create more.
Make sure you all stay around for the after party on Zoom.
me back, always seem to live like that. Deeper ruts and same old tracks. Haven't seen a cloud in days. Said I'd leave, but I just stayed. And now this place is showing age. I've been waiting for the sirens. I've been dreaming of a flood. I've been looking for the lightning. The storm that I once was. Tell me, are you far away? I leave this town and keep my doubt, wanting in and staying out, always followed by this drought. So I just sit and pray for rain, something wash away these stains. And I think I have gone insane. I've been waiting for the sirens. I've been dreaming of a flood. Been looking for the lightning. Storm that I once was. Tell me, are you far away? Sit and pray for rain, something wash away these stains. I think that I have gone insane. Been waiting for the sirens. I've been dreaming of a flood. I've been looking for the lightning. And the storm that I once was. Tell me, are you far away? Are you far away? Na, 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 na. Tell me, are you far away? Are you far away? Na, 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 na. 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 Pull me up, pull me back, always seem to live like that. Deeper ruts and same old tracks. Haven't seen a cloud in days. Said I'd leave, but I just stayed. And now this place is showing age. I've been waiting for the sirens. I've been dreaming of a flood. I've been looking for the lightning. Storm that I once was. Tell me, are you far away? I leave this town and keep my doubt, wanting in and staying out, always followed by this drought. So I just sit and pray for rain, something wash away these stains. And I think I have gone insane. I've been waiting for the sirens. I've been dreaming of a flood. Been looking for the lightning. Storm that I once was. Tell me, are you far away? Sit and pray for rain, something wash away these stains. I think that I have gone insane. Been waiting for the sirens. I've been dreaming of a flood. I've been looking for the lightning. And the storm that I once was. Tell me, are you far away? Are you far away? Na, 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 na. Tell me, are you far away? Are you far away? Na, 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 na. 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 Na, 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 na.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are back from our intermission. I hope that all of you out there in the online community are out there enjoying this. I posted, if you're on Facebook, I posted a program in the link. You can find it on our website at artstopeka.org/artistinc. And we will move on with Betsy Rowe, who will present her group. So I'll turn it over to you, Betsy.
Hi, everyone. I have to say it was such a privilege to be part of this and to get to know so many wonderful artists. And tonight I'm seeing even more. The work has just been fantastic. I can't wait to share they're not my group, but the people I worked with. They I refer to them as a melange because we're kind of a mixed group. but in a wonderful way. There are so many different talents that everyone has. And we'll start with Carmen Anello and move to Rodney Hoover, Susan Theroff, and Jeremy Wangler. I think the level of confidence has and the ability for us to grow together has just been remarkable. It seems like a long 8 weeks, but it really is a short time, and we will have connections for life. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carmen Anello.
Hello, everyone. I am Carmen Anello, and I want to share with you what it is that drives me in my endeavors as a stage and film actor, a musician, and a sometimes model pretend, I like to put it. So one of the beautiful parts about stage work is that the simplest stage productions can have the biggest impact. Here on the flight path had 2 balconies created by a long concave wall, 2 sliding glass doors, and a 4-foot partial divider. However, the character and technical direction made this comedy really come to life. Now, none of us are simply an external projection, whether we're created in a writer's mind or walking about in our current realities. If then encompasses this mindset by revealing the huge impact of what the slightest decision can make in a person's life. Portraying 2 vastly different journeys, one woman's life was one of the most challenging and rewarding opportunities I've ever had on stage with people that I was honored to be with. And then there are shows you can truly get to play pretend in, diving into a fantastical world where you find characters relatable, yet completely saturated in mischievous magic. These are dream roles with entirely different rewards due to the investment of the actors to honor the original creations and the excitement and the energy of the audience expectations. And then in contrast, there are performances that have the weight of history and communities accompanying them. In the Heights is not only an extraordinary show from a technical and theatrical standpoint, but its message to commitment to the change it wishes to invoke is absolutely breathtaking. Now moving from Washington Heights to an anything but average blind date elsewhere in New York, groping puppets, raunchy banter, and an unapologetically sarcastic leading lady got my attention when I first listened to this show. But the passion, the pain, and vulnerability woven into the second act had me just overjoyed to be sharing the stage with talented, truly life-changing casts. Music. My love and dedication to sultry blues, sound-shattering bass, layered electro-funk have blessed me with opportunities to perform on tour with legends in their field, to add vocals to incredible acoustic talents, and to start gaining traction with genre-bending creations through my own band, Cables and Lace. Performing on stage in any form has also inspired a love of creative modeling and photography. And I am unashamed of being a gal that loves sinuous lines and lighting, but I'm always excited to be transformed by talented artists via plaster, grit, paint, and imagination, like an old man here by the fabulous Jake Jackson. I am a strong believer in promoting and encouraging growth within the local art community. I've often jumped at the opportunity to participate in projects knowing that they're tailored towards local audiences. Big or small, it doesn't matter. If you have a passion, you have a passion, and I want to be a part of that for sure. But sometimes those supportive efforts create works that reach beyond even where we thought they were going to go. Exposure was vision driven by Jake Jackson, and Clayton Ashley, and our small team of horror-loving misfits gave it just everything we had. We loved every minute of making this film, and thankfully, it seemed like others really enjoyed it too. And then another reason supporting each other is so important. I've been gifted with new opportunities like the film that is currently out, I Am Lisa. Because of the work that I've done with others that are just as passionate about projects like this, our dedication to each other's personal and our professional growth is just unwavering. I've participated now in 2 movies that are on multiple streaming platforms and on DVD and on specialty VHS, and I'm just honored to be a part of this community. The best part of increase in visibility and opportunities is that I've been able to bring greater support to causes, endeavors, and much needed change locally and far beyond that. There is nothing more important to me than continuing to be educated and to educate others in how to be a part of impactful, positive change. So I often feel overwhelmed with the fact that I get to participate in such incredible theater, amazing film and commercial experiences, music, modeling, all of these things. It would not be possible without the support in my life and without other artists who are supporting me as I support them. So I'd like to say thank you to Artists Inc. This has been a really fantastic experience full of motivation, like I said, support and inspiration from all of these artists involved. It's just mind-blowing to me. You can find me on Vimeo. Check out Cables and Lace for teaser tracks for our upcoming EP, and look forward to seeing you out there again. Thanks so much, everybody.
Hi, I'm Rodney Hoover, and my art has become unapologetically courageous. I create compositions blending my love of cattle with unique personas by utilizing live models, costumes, and set design, giving cattle personalities through human body language. My inspiration comes from childhood memories of my grandparents' farm, a place I felt free to explore that nurtured my creative being. After 30 years of working in traditional media and as a full-time graphic artist, I transitioned to digital photography. I spent the forefront of my career creating art for other people as commission and commercial work, and decided to start doing work for myself. I focused on anything farm related, but quickly realized most every piece I created contained cattle or cattle related elements. While scanning and archiving family photos, I noticed one of my grandfather and great aunts. I felt compelled to give the cow heads. My grandfather had raised cattle, and I knew he'd find it funny. It wasn't long before I discovered I could match a cow's expression with my relative's body language, and voila, the birth of the Bovinians. The Bovinians have become a creative passion of mine. I found giving them identities elevated my creative drive and the connection I have to each one, who they were, how they were related, where they lived and worked. Their origins are largely based on the history of my grandparents and their ancestries. Many have sparked the creation of multiple sculptures. And you'll see a few of those coming up. These are all pieces off my first collection. This is my haunted doll Cookie. She has sculpted a paperclay and mixed media. Her presence in my composite of Miss Judy Brownbay has inspired her creation. Her physical being has given Judy's image an aura of historical authenticity, helping to bring her character to life. At my Kansas City Public Library exhibit, many reported hearing children's whispers while enjoying Cookie's display. This bit of info was added to augment Cookie's identity. Then while at the Columbian Theater Gallery, a traveling paranormal team connected with her story and included her as part of her overnight investigation, and she has since been a guest at several events and venues. I was having trouble thinking of a way to add color to the Bovinians without infringing on the historical aesthetics of the originals. And then it hit me, something I never got to experience as a child. I developed a vision, and with tons of research, I began production on what became the Papa Mustowski Bovinian Circus and Freak Show. I started costume creation, and with my wife as production assistant, we hit every thrift store around. We purchased anything remotely resembling circus and incorporated it into character and set building. If we couldn't find something, local costume shops willingly loaned it to us. Everything came together perfectly as we began to organize the photo sessions. And my studio was a costume shop. After reaching out to several people, asking if they would join in my madness, I was surprised by the response. We had jugglers, unicyclists, a contortionist, people of all ages and all walks of life. In addition to my wife and daughters, we added more than 30 members to the ranks of the circus, and we had a blast doing it. I had had the opportunity to shoot some extraordinary animals for my collections, including the Guinness Book of World Records steer with the widest set of horns. I want to thank all the participating ranches for allowing me access to their incredible livestock, many of which have become permanent members of the circus family as well. And it was amazing to be invited up to shoot that guy. He was just bizarre. This is Jack and Lady Lorena Earl. Jack, at a mere 8'7", was a popular sideshow attraction. He and Lorena, the smallest woman in the world, met and married at the Bavinian Circus, and they were the love of each other's lives for more than 30 years. After creating their personas, costuming, photo shoots, and studio time, it took an estimated 38 hours to produce that one piece. And I decided to add sculpture to help maximize the circus experience. This is Miss Olga Mukova, constructed of rag mache and paper clay over wire armature. She's suspended from a vintage block and tackle and auto rotates 360 degrees. She's a featured aerial act of the largest proportions and enjoyed by all. The music machine is a fully functional interactive piece made to replicate the sound of the early coin-operated circus organs. Its construction includes an antique Victrola cabinet, vintage Rod piano, and various other instruments. It houses a Philips micro system, 3 speakers, a subwoofer, and vintage light fixtures. And wherever it is, there is a crowd gathered, and it will rock a house down. I created a unique marketing campaign, including a series of circus posters and tickets. We posted them everywhere and placed the tickets on every gas station counter. I submitted press releases that were published by several newspaper, blog posts, and online event calendars, including the National Steampunk Explorer. It was also highlighted in the 313 magazine. After more than 2 years of production, when completed, the show included more than 40 composites, 7 sculptures, and so much more. The realization of our marketing efforts came to the end of the opening day. An estimated 500 people from 4 different states explored the circus, which led to a 3-month exhibit extension. I'd like to thank everybody who made my vision and this body of work a reality.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Theroff. I'm a visual artist who has a fascination with myth, nature, the human figure, and the use of symbols in my art to create a narrative. I approach the archetypes in my art as mythological actors interacting with a mortal figure, emphasizing that we're allowing nature to slip into a status of myth, a symptom of our increasing separation. I love this quote I came across from Charles DeLint, one of my favorite authors. He's a storyteller. He tells the truth with lies, so the details aren't necessarily true, but what he's talking about is. This quote speaks to me of weaving symbols into art where the viewer can be engaged and have a personal dialogue with the art on a personal level. I started out playing with symbolism in my series, Tree Mythology. Trees were once revered and worshipped by early civilizations, and the advent of science during the Enlightenment turned against nature, redefined it as chaotic, something to be controlled and sold as a commodity. This is Methuselah. I wove a new mythology for her, giving her original ownership of Odin's ravens. The oracle at Dodona in Greece is currently credited to the god Zeus, but it was the goddess Dione that was first worshipped there. The doves are symbolic of 3 priestesses that resided in the oak tree and took requests of worshipers. Creating work like this was my way of honoring women's roles in historical mythology. But it continued to irritate me how submerged women's voices are in literature, so I created another series of female portraits. I was inspired by Maya Angelou's poem, And Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tread me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. I found myself increasingly drawn to incorporating symbolism into my art. It was an exciting time where my research competed equally with my art making, and yet in some ways, it happened almost intuitively. I would draw something in, and researching it later, I would find that it would fit with what I was doing, as if the drawing was telling me what it really needed. My current series, Confronted by Truth, examines our response to learning a truth. I am not trying to define truth. I'm simply asking the viewer to consider their own experiences and responses to finding out a truth. I'm inviting the viewer to become a participant with their own experiences, adding another layer of meaning to the art. In the last few years, the concept of truth, or what is truth, has become a contentious topic. It can be private or public, but truth itself seems to have become a commodity that can be bought, sold, and rewritten. It seems we're moving into a time where we are not just being separated from nature, but truth as well. These are some of the actors, as I call them in these drawings. The raven, in many mythologies, is regarded as the bringer of light to this world. It is also associated with the god's messenger in the mortal world in Greek mythology. I chose the raven as the messenger of truth. And sometimes our response to a truth is also a response to the messenger. The life cycle of the moth shows us that there must be death for rebirth and growth to occur, such as giving up old beliefs for new truths. The cocoons represent a transformation, how our thoughts can undergo a metamorphosis in seeking truth and moving past false beliefs that may be holding us back. Moths themselves are regarded as symbols of the soul's desire to seek light and enlightenment. These are the internal truths we must reconcile with the world. The adult moth's impulse to seek light is very much symbolic of the soul that is drawn to knowledge and ultimate truth, or the divine truth. What would you see if you could see someone's thoughts? Here, they are represented as roses that symbolize innocence, as many of our thoughts start out. But the dead roses, as they are often portrayed here, are a representation of the end of something and letting go of old ways, a sign of needing to prune out our judgments and our self-held prejudices. Sometimes the truths that we tell ourselves can be at the same time the most difficult to protect and to transform, or even to let go of. Knowing how to speak them becomes even harder. Thorns as a symbol will take on a stronger role in this series as it represents a sacrifice. And I feel it begs the question of what do we sacrifice when we do not speak our truth? As an artist, I want people to pause for a moment and consider a different point of view, other people's truths. These last few years helped us realize how fragmented we are, showed us how much we lack empathy for others. We other each other so much we forget our connectedness. Art is a way of reminding us of those connections. I'll continue work on this series, so if you'd like to follow along, you can see my works in progress posted on my social media pages and website. And I hope you enjoyed the little tour behind the meanings, behind the work that I do. And thanks to everyone involved in Artist Inc. This has been a fantastic opportunity to help me gain clarity of what I do as an artist. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Wangler. I'm a photographer, and I've lived in the Midwest my whole life and most of the last 15 years here in Topeka, Kansas. I consider myself a landscape, cityscape, and nature photographer who enjoys capturing the beauty of our world, but isn't afraid to point out some of the bad and the ugly. Tonight, I'll mostly be focusing on the beauty. Early 20th century photographer Henry Cartier-Bresson termed the phrase decisive moment. For me, it's magical moments, usually a series of moments when I'm at my best, my adrenaline is pumping, and I'm feeling the happiest. That's me at work on the top right, and on the left is one of those magic moments when the two arrows and the clouds all lined up. Those magic moments are often landscape moments for me. I stopped at this spot on the left out in western Kansas and probably spent half an hour photographing it and just enjoying the scene. Or the moment can be studying and enjoying a waterfall for a long time and then getting a long exposure photo of it to freeze time and capture the moment of the scene. And nothing gets my adrenaline and my anxiety going like trying to get to a good spot for a sunset or a sunrise. In this case, one beautiful morning this winter, I got the moon setting on on one side of the lake, and then minutes later, the sun came up on the other side. These were taken in 3 different spots that morning. As you can see from a few of these, I love the sun shining through an object in the foreground. It makes the object almost an all black or monochromatic silhouette while keeping all the colors in the background of the image. I think it lets the colors really speak to the emotion of the scene. Also love the Kansas prairie, as you can see. Nature and wildlife can be part of the moments. And then this next slide, I sat in my car and photographed these birds in the middle of the picture for at least an hour as the parent was flying around the field, catching grasshoppers and feeding its young is really fun, watching them kind of fighting over who's next. The marmots in the top middle were all siblings staying close to their home, playing with each other. It's just a lot of fun watching these interactions. And humans are part of the magic moments, whether I'm posing somebody or capturing a random moment of joy, triumph, or surprise. I'll now focus on 2 of the projects where I've incorporated our landscape, the wildlife around us, and our own human interactions with it all. First is a project I did last spring at the start of COVID called Birds Are Dinosaurs. What do birds do to ensure the survival of their species? Everything. They are dinosaurs, descended from theropod dinosaurs, which first appeared more than 200 million years ago. The series looks closely at the features of everyday birds and the relationships we have sharing our space with them. And I added some toys to my yard as I waited for birds to come and kind of interact with them. In lockdown from COVID, I experienced a range of emotions, and I saw them in these images. I saw uncertainty, fear, and battle for dominance. I saw quick action and escape to safety. I saw a chance to reach out for an opportunity. I saw the loneliness of a solitary creature and the battle for attention or a position of one in the flock. And here are a few more shots of some dinosaur-like features of the birds. And then the image at the bottom is my favorite from this series. I think it just perfectly shows the survival instinct of birds. All 3 of them, for whatever reason, just took off all at once. They're a blur and you can just see a couple specks of food in the air. I love how a camera can capture these moments we wouldn't otherwise be able to see. And in the next series I'll talk about is an ongoing one called Confined to the Constraints, Constrained to the Confines. These are black and white images I've been working on the past few months, and I'm exploring our relationship with the natural environment and our human-made environment in this series. The series definitely draws on isolation, but not completely due to the pandemic and not completely in a negative way. Isolation can be an opportunity for deep thought and personal growth. Isolation can be a chance to reemerge in a better way, re-energized, focused, and free of what you don't want or need. There you see some examples of landscape, cityscape, and our interactions with both of them. And then we see birds returning. The picture in the bottom left is maybe a reminder that they've been here a lot longer than us and they may still outlast us. And then pay attention to that hawk on the right. I spent a lot of time trying to get the perfect close-up of this hawk, but then in the next slide, you'll see I decided why not widen the shot and get the whole scene. It's not a perfect picture. The focus and lighting aren't great, but I love the composition, and it's my favorite shot so far in the Confines series. The result reminds us of how humans and other creatures all must share the same landscape. So I'll wrap up with a quote from Poussin. He said, "Of course, it's all luck." He also said, "Your first 10,000 photographs are your worst." He worked in the time of film, so he didn't have as many chances to capture these decisive or magic moments. In the digital age, it's probably more like your first 500,000 photos are your worst. Either way, I'll keep shooting and looking for those magic moments. Thank you. You can always look me up at jeremywangler.com and Instagram at jeremy_wangler. Thank you, and thank you to Artists Inc. for a great 8 weeks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Monette Mark, and it's been a real pleasure to work with Artists Inc. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to work with my fellow artists in this group. You know, we've all come from diverse backgrounds and we've shared information with each other. You know, we filled in the gaps in the knowledge where some of us didn't have them and some of us did. It was really great. And, you know, everything that we talked about, everyone was so encouraging to everyone else. And that was really, I think, the backbone of this group. So let me introduce you to Benjamin Arnfield, Byron Ashley, Audrey Bosley, Erica Kajorley Gary, and Becky Waugh. And I really appreciate and thank you guys all the Artists Inc. folks. This has been just a really wonderful experience for me. And I hope that you all enjoy the work that you see, because I sure have.
Hi, I'm Ben Arnfield. I'm a painter that specializes in watercolor cityscape scenes meant to evoke nostalgia in the viewer. We live in uncertain times, so I feel that we should have little pieces of home to act as reminders where we came from to help us in moving forward. I'm a Canadian American who has lived across the east, west, and middle of the United States. I did a drawing correspondence course throughout my childhood, and I grew up doing various art workshops in graphite and color pencil drawing, as well as watercolor and oil painting. And when I came to painting, I started with watercolors and worked with them for a number of years, learning under multiple teachers. I like the crisp look that came with the medium, and it worked very well in conjunction with ink drawings, especially for the pen and wash style of painting, which is essentially a watercolor painting overlaying an ink drawing. Eventually, I got into oils and stuck with them due to how forgiving it is as a medium. I settled on water-soluble oils despite their toothpaste-like consistency, since they made for easier cleanup. I would make high contrast and black and white drawings to help improve my painting effectiveness. These drawings were known as no-tans. These no-tans have proven most instrumental. I draw them and convert them into digital files, then blow them up at Kinko's to use in conjunction with graphite paper to trace onto canvases for painting outlines. Little did I realize that these byproducts of my oil paintings would have hidden potential. I eventually came to see these no-tans as a viable form of art in and of themselves. They seemed especially suited for colorizing, so I began experimenting with watercolor paint to make them into a type of the before-mentioned pen and wash style of pieces, though this would bring up new challenges. One of these challenges was getting these images onto watercolor paper. In searching for a solution, I happened across the printing process known as gouache. It essentially sprays ink droplets onto paper for finer control over detail and color. But one of the more useful aspects of it was its ability to print on heavier paper than typical printing. At this point, my work pretty much covered landscapes and animals, but I needed something specific to distinguish my brand. So after much consideration, I settled on cityscapes. They're like landscapes, but they resonate with people on a more emotional level due to how they're lived in. My watercolor and gouache cityscapes act as a window into our past, more specifically into the time before the age of COVID, time in which we enjoyed our city streets, shops, and restaurants unfettered, footloose and mask-free, as it were. Now I'll describe how I make these pieces. I begin the process by using a city photograph of my choice to produce a no-tan-like drawing to depict the scene. As I draw it, I choose which details to keep and which to discard. This results in the visual brevity needed to make the scene effective, since a scene of convoluted detail is more of a headache than a trip down memory lane. Then I digitize these drawings by using illustration software to eliminate paper pigmentation, thus leaving only the black of the ink. Then the scene is cropped to meet the dimensional needs of the printing stage. I keep these dimensions to 9 by 13, 13 by 20, and 20 by 28. 3 basic sizes derived from a watercolor paper sheet. The image is then printed onto a 140-pound sheet of watercolor paper via the gouache printer. The end result is a crisp reproduction of the drawing on genuine watercolor paper that can be replicated as many times as desired, in any size. I've noticed that standard commercial printings on such paper seems to be constrained to like 13 inches, a flaw that gouache does not share. Then I paint these things. When it comes to the actual painting, I just tape it down in my studio, apply my watercolor technique to colorize it. Each piece ends up with its own painting job, so each one is unique from one another. So, not unlike a snowflake. And it's a matter of framing it myself or leaving it to up to the collector. Personally, I opt for a matte-less type of framing that exposes the rough edges of the paper, thus giving it a distinct look and revealing where the paint overlaps the edges of where the scene was printed, thus cementing that it is actually an original piece. And I've been involved with the Classic Bean in downtown Topeka for the past 3 years now, and just this year I got into the Jane Stevens Memorial Watercolor 3 show at the Southwind Gallery. My work can be seen at my website of benarnfield.com, and I can be reached at my email address of ben@benarnfield.com. And I thank you for your time.
Hello, everyone. All the people I know watching. So, my name is Byron Ashley. I graduated from Kansas State University in 2019 with a BFA in printmaking. I've interned at Anderson Ranch Arts Center, Constellation Studios, and will be interning at Washington University and Flatbed Press later this year. I am an active member in the print community, attending SGCI conferences and participating in printmaking exhibitions, and was even featured in The Hand magazine, a printmaking publication. Prints are always created in multiples. When one set of prints are completed, they are known as an edition and are very lucrative because of the limited availability of the image. There are several different kinds of printmaking. The two I'm going to cover tonight are screen printing and intaglio. Intaglio involves scraping away at the surface of a copper plate with a needle that is then dipped into acid, etching the lines. Once completed, the plate is inked up and ran through a press. Etching gained prominence in the 1700s, due in part to Francisco Goya and Rembrandt. Screen printing involves pushing ink through a silk screen mesh with the use of a squeegee. This process was originally used as a strictly commercial mean, but was popularized as an art medium by pop artists like Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein. I create mainly value drawings that consist of midtones, lights, and darks. I employ the cross-hatching technique, which is closely drawn parallel lines to create the illusion of depth. I will often blend my cross-hatchings together by use of a stump. The themes that occur in my work are the eccentricities of American culture, US politics, racism, identity politics, gun control, social commentary, and pop culture. In my work, I use vibrant and inviting colors, much like a poisonous frog, but these colors serve as a warning that something is not right. I choose antagonizing and feverish colors to evoke an emotional response. I will juxtapose surrealistic imagery with political and social commentary in order to make an abstract statement. I employ flat color and line in my artwork and will sometimes lend imagery from cartoons and comic books. My work preaches of damnation in a country that has its peaks and valleys of moral high ground. While being a shining beacon and a leader in the international community, America has committed its fair share of atrocities. American society is narcissistic, selfish, and obsessed with one's self-image. We value charisma and cosmetic appearance over morality and reason. My work aims to make scathing comments and biting criticisms to reveal issues that are often glanced over. The election of Emperor God Donald Trump inspired me to make art about US politics. As a man with no prior governing experience, Trump beat the odds and rose to the highest seat of power. And though I say it was a little gratifying to see Trump maim and dismantle the political status quo. What interests me the most is how his notoriety and public reach through television and Twitter was enough to overcome his several personal flaws. My work is critical of identity politics and the hostility that the two-party system unintentionally breeds. Having only two legitimate choices technically unites more people, but it creates a huge divide that causes us to see each other not as fellow citizens, but as enemies that have something to lose or gain. Notoriety and social status drives us to be better than one another as we constantly try and one-up each other. Artist Philip Guston's cartoon representation of Klansmen have been inspiring and fundamental in my works concerning racism. I see institutional racism as something that is often skimmed over or just completely ignored. Racism has no specific criteria, political affiliation. In this piece, Public on the left, I use irony to express the accessibility that racist people have in our society, that they can participate in public domain without fear of repercussion, like in the example, riding a bus. As long as racism is kept locked away where no one can see it, you can get away with it. In my piece, American Still Life on the right, I illustrate this concept, that you wouldn't suspect anything malicious just from looking at someone's appearance or what they have inside their house. You must look closer and get behind closed doors to see what truly dwells within. Once someone is comfortable in a private setting, and you begin to have an intimate conversation, that is when someone's true colors begin to show. If you would like to learn more about me or my work, visit my website, byronashleyart.com, or visit my Instagram page, @ByronAshleyPrints. You can also reach me by email, byronashley1@gmail.com. Cool.
Good evening. My name is Audrey Bosley. In mid-January of this year, about 5:30 a.m., I don't typically wake up, but I woke up with words coming to me. I got up and I discovered that I can write poetry. I'm currently writing 1 or 2 poems a day. My goal is to write a series of children's books for ages 6 to 8. I will design dolls and characters that will be mass-produced to go along with my books. Children, especially my granddaughters, provide inspiration for me. I love fantasy and whimsy tempered by realism. I want children to learn the things I didn't learn growing up, especially cultural things. I want to help them feel that they matter, no matter who they are, and to know that no matter what they have to overcome, they can ask for help. Recently, I was asked why I want to write for children. It's simply something I know I can do. When Michelangelo was asked why he carved a stone, he replied, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." My slides include some kaleidoscopes that will be followed by the images used to make the kaleidoscope. First poem I'm going to read to you is called Dawn. In the early morning dawn, I sit comfortably, brushing off the sleepiness, contemplating the day, planning for adventures, and being open to all that is. If I keep an open mind, I have no anticipation. I have no expectations. Whatever comes to me flows to me as it will. And I feel gratitude for my spirit, mind, and body. Good things come to me. Bad things happen to me. And I accept all that is with gratitude as I dance through this life. Second poem I'm going to read is called Zen. Everything has an essence. Every little thing is real. Every little thing has honor. Every little thing is meant to be. Why do we question the why? There is no why. There is only acceptance of the essence of all things. I was asked to submit a 50-word excerpt to Artists Inc., and here's what I came up with. In 2021, I chose the word adventure as my word for the year. I say, set your intentions well and watch your dreams unfold. Recently, I learned that the biggest myth is to say, I'll believe it when I see it. I now say, I believe it and I'll see it. This next poem I titled, Show Me the Way to Go Home. Growing up in Northwest Kansas on a farm, we would go shopping in a nearby county, a little bigger town. On the way back, my dad, being a farmer, liked to roam through the countryside to see the fields. My mother would say, Ed, do you know where you are? And so he would sing this song, but this is the poem I came up with. Here we are, all of us, riding the waves of life. Sometimes the way is smooth. Sometimes it is very turbulent. And most times it is something in between. Along the way, we make choices to help others or not, depending on the situation. We choose by our actions to show love or to show something quite the opposite. There is only love if one understands the universe to extend with grace to others. Last poem is called Come to Jesus. Sometimes life brings you to a defining moment, a come to Jesus kind of moment. You stop cold in your tracks and take note of what is being revealed, the aha moments. You think of what you want to do differently. You weep thinking of what opportunities you lost and vow to change those things from that moment forward. You vow to stop dwelling on what has been lost and to begin thinking of the possibilities of what lies ahead and how things can change. Life is moments filled with possibilities. Each moment presents many opportunities, and the path may feel unclear. That's when it's time to trust your inner knowing, your inner guide, your high self, to show you the path, to show you the way. Life can begin anew at any time, sometimes when least expected, and often during challenging times. Trust in yourself. You have an inner compass. Live in the moment. Follow your own path. Be, just be. I'm hoping to have a children's book out this year. We'll see how that goes. Here's my contact information on Instagram and my Gmail. Thank you so much. Thanks to ArtsConnect, Artist Inc. program.
Hi. My name is Erica Jorley Geary. I am an artist living and working in Lawrence, Kansas. I am delighted to be with you this evening. My presentation includes examples of 5 ongoing series of my body of work. My art is a record of my personal journey. When I graduated from college, I was focused on my escape. I moved to Austin, Texas, where I worked successfully in my field. In the spring of 2008, I returned to Kansas to marry my husband and raise our family. This is when my most important work began. Dorothea Lange said, "Beauty appears when one feels deeply. Art is an act of total attention." I long for the nostalgia of my childhood, riding in cool cars with the warm breeze blowing through my hair, watching my mother and grandmother dressed to the nines dance the night away. I use vintage cars and clothing in my photographs to capture the elusive and distant past. I am attracted to intelligence, resilience, and the innate power of women. I know their outer beauty is a reflection of their inner being. Sometimes they forget their brilliance and need to be reminded of their truth. The amazing women I style and photograph are educators, activists, and artists. The connection and trust we share comes through in the images. Representation of all women is important to me. I seek diversity in the models I work with. I use 35mm and medium format film and digital cameras. I rarely edit my photographs. My grandfather taught me to get it right in the camera, not afterwards. There is a magical mystery to images captured on film. I love working in the darkroom. My African-inspired paintings are influenced by my desire to create textile designs. I love strong geometric patterns and bright, vivid colors. This work allows me to express the fun, joyful side of my personality. My family tree paintings are not premeditated. I begin working and the forms take shape. When each tree is completed, whatever or whoever was waiting in the shadows of my unconscious mind appears. Everyone sees something different, but the messages are clear to me. Art is more than pretty pictures on a wall. It has the power to heal and transform. My self-development feeds directly into my creative process. As I evolve, so does my work. Unpacking the emotional baggage I furiously stuffed long ago. Art helps me dig deeper, excavating the hurt and pain from the past. It allows me to sublimate repressed trauma and release it. As I shed the heavy, unwanted layers of anger and self-defense mechanisms, my freedom grows nearer and my light shines brighter. As the old stuff rises to the surface and floats away, I feel better and better. I serve on the board of the Lawrence Percolator. In the spring of 2019, an artist came to us with an exhibition proposal. I agreed to curate a show to raise awareness about domestic violence. I sent out a call for entries and received 2 responses. I decided I would fight through my fear and created work of my own. The show focused on survivors of domestic violence and the lingering post-traumatic stress disorder they suffer as a result. It was an important and emotive exhibit, raw and powerful. It showcased the real deal instead of hiding it in the basement. My traumatisma body of work screams, devoid of sound, to take notice. It begs us to examine and deal with this public health crisis. The World Health Organization reported in March of 2021, 1 in 3 women worldwide will experience violence against them in their lifetimes. COVID-19 has exacerbated this tragedy. In order to break the abuse cycle, it is absolutely necessary to take care of the abused and the abuser. We must be willing to have tough conversations in order to do the work. The equation needs to be understood in order to solve the problem. And I intend to be a force in that effort. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Artist Inc. There's one more image. Hopefully it'll pop up here. And it has my contact information on it. There it is.
Hello, my name is Becky Waugh. I work primarily in acrylic on canvas. I portray the world through my eyes, and I experiment with a variety of styles and techniques. These are my little critters. I enjoy painting and drawing animals. I strive to capture the essence of the animal. Here we have 3 small drawings of animals close to my heart, done with watercolor pencil. Viewing artwork is viewing the world through the artist's eyes. Abstract images are born of my mind, but open for interpretation. For example, the piece to the left was painted to represent rain on a window, but the vast majority of viewers see sperm. My process in creating abstract work is primarily experimental and layered. This fox is an example of one of my stylized animal images. I embellish the natural form of the creature with patterns and shapes that encapsulate the spirit of the animal. In this case, warm colors create an elegant flowing pattern that is representative of the fox's regal nature. It is the same story the crow told me, it's the only one he knows. Like the morning sun he comes, and like the wind you blow. This painting is inspired by words written by poet Robert Hunter. Soulmates, a human term. This pair walks the earth together. Each one has the strength to overcome threats alone, but it is the bond between the two that elevates their individual experience. This is true of wolves in nature. A lone wolf is a sad creature that has been banished from the pack, and the beauty is in the connection. Beauty, nature, and diversity Pastel colors against a dark sea create the illusion of light refracted through the transparent body of this jellyfish. It is a form that is as foreign to us as the deep, dark habitat of the sea, and it begs the question, what other beauties exist out of sight? To me, it is all about a connection between two souls, a connection to nature, the earth and sky, a celestial connection. Vivid colors and dramatic lighting help create a moment of bliss, a temporary utopia to be cherished, a quiet moment. The girl in this image longs for love and has kindness to share in a cold world. There's a weary sadness in the face of the pencil-drawn character as she stands alone. The material is paper mounted on rubber brick with a printed graphic, but the message is about the importance of kindness. Now, this painting shows a girl holding the moon by a string. She stands in the glow of her imagination, holding on to magnificence by a thread. She may appear to have her feet on the ground, but she is a dreamer, and the universe is her playground. This is Jennifer, my muse. This black and white painting reflects the calm beauty and confidence of the subject. The black background is interrupted by the precise brushstrokes of white and gray to create an engaging image. The dramatic low lighting literally highlights the curve of the female nude. The figure casts her eyes upwards and has a look of anticipation. This asks the viewer to create their own story to explain the image. With steely hair and steely eyes, she'll steal your heart, she'll steal your life, she'll steal you in the dark of night. I call this painting Thirsty, and the character first appeared in a dream. The following day, I felt compelled to paint her. Gloria and her rider showcase a majestic creature very much out of her natural element. Gloria's rider wears a plastic smile, while Gloria's eyes speak of pain and sadness. This painting depicts exploitation for the sake of entertainment. Roller Girl began as a figure study. The character was born out of a basic figure drawing, bit at a time. The expression on her face, the body art, the attire. Roller Girl burst forth from the canvas, a force to be reckoned with, or to be loved, your choice. And finally, Legend. It's a commentary on the phenomenon known as celebrity. Thank you. If you would like to see more of my artwork, please visit me on Facebook or shoot me an email. And thank you, Artist Inc.
This has been a very difficult year, but thank you so much. Thank God for artists. Artists have given us something to fill the days, music to listen to, and entertainment to pass the time, and something that allows us to reflect on ourselves and to realize just how much we can contribute to the quality of what we experience each day. Also, thank you to Artist Inc. for taking the time to put a program like this together for so many very talented individuals. Some of those individuals I got a chance to work with at the nexus of their career. I like to refer to them as the Nexus Group. Those individuals were Katie and Liza and Xavier and Dane and Peter, all at that point in their lives and careers where they're about to really take off and do some amazing things. I'd say keep an eye on this group.
Hello. Did I do good? Yay.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I'm an embroidery artist from Topeka, Kansas. My pieces are often inspired by nature and connection to places meaningful to myself, often including my family and my stitches, either by using materials I inherited by my great aunt or having my daughter help me pull the needle through the fabric. Each piece holds a piece of my own personal history. After college, I began my career in healthcare, and I found myself struggling with my own mental health. I found being creative was the outlet that best supported my mental health at that time. I first created what I call hoop frames with space to display and just change out pictures. Soon after this, I focused on developing and improving my skills in traditional embroidery techniques. I enjoyed creating texture and thinking outside the box to create an interesting and unique embroidery design that reflected my love for nature while also incorporating the same stitches my great aunt would have used in her own projects. Many of my embroidery pieces are inspired by the Pacific Northwest, where I'm originally from. I love to capture the unique beauty of the Northwest and make connections with others who also have their own memories of these familiar, well-known places. I began to challenge myself with more detailed and complex designs, often created out of many hours of trial and error, until I found a combination of colors, stitches, and a composition that I felt suited the design. The beauty of embroidery is that I can make mistakes, rip it out, and try again. As I continued with my embroidery practice, I enjoyed my continued connection to family. Often my nieces and nephews would help me while I stitched my more intricate designs, providing their own unique touch to the pieces. And I continue to pass down the love of creating, just as my ancestors did for me. The challenge of creating depth with embroidery floss intrigued me, and I began to experiment with more color and texture. I love the tactile experience of embroidery, that as I stitch, I can feel the floss, and it provides a peace and calm that allows me to focus on the task of creating. At this time, the combination of fabric paint and stitches made with black floss to create a sketch-like effect, and I enjoyed the juxtaposition of the soft watercolor with the more graphic stitching. I like the experience of the colors, for the colors to blend and bleed into the fabric freely, and then create a design with the stitches that form something familiar and more structured. The process of creating an embroidery begins with a sketch. I use pens that disappear with heat so that I can draw directly on the fabric. And as always, a lot of trial and error comes with my designs. And as I stitch, I often step back and try to identify what needs to change so that the idea I have in my head can be translated to the fabric. Grading each piece varies in how much time it takes depending on the intricacies of the design. Although my more detailed designs tend to frustrate me the most with the time and frequent need to rip out stitches, I get more out of the process, whether I develop my skills as an artist or I learn more about what it means to be patient and vulnerable in my work. Since 2013, my work has evolved, and I've looked forward to continue to improve my skills as an artist. And I hope to stitch more challenging work that represents myself and my love for creating and invites others to explore their surroundings. Now that I have lived in Kansas for over 4 years, I have grown to love the unique and oftentimes overlooked beauty of the prairie. Embroidery has provided the opportunity to slow down and build a genuine appreciation for where I live. Every place is different, and every day, even moment to moment, there is something new to observe and appreciate in nature. One thing I love are the Kansas sunsets over the rolling hills with its vivid colors and open skies. It's an opportunity every day to appreciate beauty. And just as I started with embroidery, it continues to help support my mental health. I became a mother right before the pandemic and experienced severe postpartum depression. Where I work, I know will continue to support me and help me process my own experience during those difficult days. And I hope to contribute to a wider conversation that allows others suffering from PPD to feel supported and seen. Thank you all for your time. I'd love to continue to have a conversation. You can contact me at katieheffern@gmail.com or Facebook and Instagram at katieheffern.art.
Hello, my name is Liza McKinnon and I'm a mixed media artist. I have always drawn and painted and at different times focused specifically on collage, letterpress, and printmaking. Nothing, however, has ever captivated me for so long as the dress sculptures I now make. I obsessively drew fancy historical dresses from a very young age and as a teenager lived a nostalgic and romantic fantasy life. I spent my weekends watching black and white movies and listening to mixed tapes of the 30s and 40s. I honestly believe the best way to attract a date was to gaze thoughtfully in the opposite direction. Bonus points for an elegant neck. The thing is even as I lived this black and white fantasy, this was the 1970s and the women's lib movement. We are all complicated people. My evolution as an artist was forged in that sweet spot between pretty things and the fight for justice and equity. In 2011, I joined a Dress a Month challenge where I played with new mediums and dove deep into details. Tiny dots, beads, my first map dress, paper dolls, and 3D sculpture were just a few of the directions I explored. In 2012, I challenged myself to a dress a day and went in many more directions. I made dresses with image transfer, lino cut printing, silk screen, colored pencil, mosaics, tiny origami dresses, pen and ink, colored pencil, collage, gouache, acrylic, pastels, and mono printing. I made dresses on maps, on book pages and ledger paper. I made robot dresses, animals in dresses, dresses with wings, and of course, more Boston Terriers in dresses. In 2013 and 14, I began to work larger and more in 3 dimensions. I created a Regency era dress from maps and pages of Pride and Prejudice, as well as a set of 6 life-size mannequins and various other large-scale mixed media dress pieces. In 2014, I was home from work in dark days, taking care of my child post-surgery. It was then I learned about the incredible healing power of detailed art making. Concentrating on the details of this Marie Antoinette let them eat cake on $25 a day gave me solace from my worries over my kiddo. The next large-scale piece was a 3-foot-tall papier-mâché heart made with pages of the DSM-4 that I dedicated to Bert Nash. I did not normally talk much about my depression and treatment. However, choosing to make this piece and being interviewed for the paper helped me integrate my whole self as an artist. Recognizing the power of art to soothe my mind has been the key to my ongoing happiness and creating a life worth living. I found the more details I used, the better I felt. There's nothing quite like getting into the art zone with hundreds of flowers, mini books, curlicues, or lots of surface decoration. To ensure mental equilibrium, I purposely plan my life around making art, setting concrete goals with shows and presentations, thereby ensuring I always have complicated works in progress. To create these 3-dimensional half-scale historic dresses that can sometimes take weeks to create, I have to be a historian, a dress pattern maker, a fabricator, a painter, a seamstress, and as always, an expert in adhesion. The materials that go into these dresses are integral to the messages and individuals I'm presenting. This Marie Antoinette is made from US tax forms and $1 bills. The Horsewoman of the Apocalypse War is made with famous battle maps, photos of refugees, and currency from around the world. Frida Kahlo is made from maps of Mexico and pages of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. Although I still have many 3D dresses percolating in my mind, I've recently started making life-size toddler dresses out of maps. These relatively quick projects give me the opportunity to indulge my new passion for embroidery on paper. Thank you. Thank you all. In conclusion, art is love. Art is salvation. Art gives me a voice. Art is what connects me to others. You can see more of my pieces at maccomics.com or reach out to me at liza@maccomics.com. And I post all of my process work on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Xavier Martinez. I'm third generation Mexican-American. I was born in Topeka, Kansas. I like doing portrait. I'm a visual artist. I like doing street art and then also a muralist. Art to me is where ideas, feelings, and life come together. I've always tried to touch subjects that words cannot explain, whether it be hardships, a look of love, or the feeling of life and death. You may feel alone or it may feel so personable, but everything that I express here has been felt by others. And here's portrait is life and death on the left, and on the right is supposed to be a look of love. Early in high school, I was introduced on how to paint portraits using acrylic paint. This inspired me to continue to become a better portrait artist by studying colors, proportions, and anatomy. I was introduced at Topeka High by Marty Marino. He gave us a simple grid to keep the proportions together. And he also taught me how to use colors in that way. Since middle school, I've had a fascination with graffiti art and street culture. Being in Kansas, it made it difficult to practice using aerosol paint medium, finding the walls. I had to resort to safe places. This is a place in Lawrence, Kansas that no longer exists. Some people call it the pit, but it eventually the walls fell to erosion. These are more examples of graffiti art that have been done. The one on the left, bottom left, has been done for the Washburn Skate Park in Topeka. I don't think that's no longer there. And there's another one on the top right that was in Kansas City. And then also my culture is very important to me because it represents my identity, never being Mexican enough or American enough. I strive to be the best I can in both worlds. And, you know, often you could feel like you don't fit in either or. The one on the left is a Mexican-American woman from LA. You know, this, and I also have, with my graffiti culture, it's the letter strokes on the background. And then on the right is a Mexican woman in a traditional dress. The look of despair in her face was also very important to me. And the traditional dress reminded me of the Fiesta Mexicana in Topeka. Here are some more. I always like to depict them looking sad because that can be part of Chicano culture. Never feeling like you can fit in, kind of feeling like a loner. On the left, both of these are two women from LA as well. The one on the left, she has clown makeup on. That's also a very common thing in Chicano culture. And there's some more art that I did. The one on the very left is my representation of the Kansas flag. You got the purple sunflower, or the purple mountains in the background. He got the sunflowers in his eyes and all the stars and the wheat. And then the heart and the arrow is a play on Mexican culture. And then eventually I combined the two, graffiti and my Chicano art. And it came organically. And the first one I did was that jalapeno. It was kind of a spur of the whim, and I did it in Topeka on the graffiti wall. I just had the colors and I just wanted to practice realism, so I went for it. Here's another street art one I did on the left side that was done at the Washburn Skate Park as well. They contacted me years later to do another one, and I wanted to focus more on my street art, so I went more in that direction. And the one on the right is an expression of looking Mexican, but not necessarily fitting the part in someone's eyes. And from there, I wanted to take it a step further and started practicing portraits with spray paint. And this was done on a woman's record file cabinet, I believe she called it. And I just tilted to the side and practiced some eyes on there. I use edges of like cardboard and whatnot to try to get sharp lines. As I continued on, the next one was the one on the left, and that was on about a 3x5 canvas. And I did that from a photo reference. And then the one on the right is about a 6 by 4 foot on a wall in Kansas City. I did another graffiti piece on the right side, but it's not pictured. And both of these are Hispanic women. And eventually this, when time called, when the protests were going on, I felt as an artist to use my platform to express who and what I believe in. And that was that Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. And I definitely did this in Topeka. I drove. And then in this one, I did in Lawrence. I was commissioned to do this on somebody's private fence. And I felt like you can tell through time, eventually my portraits were getting better. I felt very moved to do this because I have experienced similar experiences to this whole thing. And, you know, I just want everybody to understand that. And then if you want to contact me, my contact information is Instagram on Common Picasso, and then email is commonpicasso@gmail.com. Thank you.
The Infinite Dabbler, the untold true story of Dana Shobe. Anticipation builds. Artist, entertainer, writer, comedian, pop culture. A dabbler in many, but a master of none. For decades, scholars have argued one question. Who is Dana Brandon Kier Shobe? I doubt that we'll ever know the answer in our lifetime, and frankly, I don't care. All I know is he was my best friend. At an early age, Dana was drawn, pun intended, to pop culture. In particular, action-driven cartoons such as He-Man, Thundercats, Ghostbusters, and most of all, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was in fact the Turtles that first inspired him to pick up a pencil and put it to paper. It's said that even to this day, he needs more time. There it is. He can recall the first time he ever doodled a Ninja Turtle, which was on the backside of a puzzle piece. It was quickly discovered that Dana was gifted with graphite. He would often use it as a means of escapism, as being a young African-American boy who enjoyed cartoons and comic books was not legalized until roughly 2003. His love for drawing turtles was integral for developing his skills and style, combining influences from American comic books and Japanese animation. His love for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would culminate in 2014 when his artwork was featured in the official Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles documentary, Turtle Power, which was released by Paramount in 2014. Dana was mostly inspired to create artwork featuring some of his favorite characters, which he felt would only exist if he created it himself. As well as representation. Some people say that Dana Shope had ambitions of becoming a professional wrestler, and he took acting classes in high school so that he would become a better wrestler. It was there that he fell in love with the craft of acting, which is a feeling The Rock knows a thing or two about. The only other thing The Rock knows for sure is that Dana Shope is his best friend. Though he participated in theater camps and workshops, he wouldn't discover his love or passion for acting until high school. His love for the craft was all-consuming, and it retains its grasp on him to this day. In 2011, he found his second home at Topeka Civic Theater, making his debut as Steve Hubble in Tennessee Williams' A Streetcar Named Desire. Dana fell desperately in love with theater. Unsubstantiated reports claim that he actually lives in the ceiling. However, no viable proof of this has ever been found. His love developed into a crippling addiction, and he has remained present on Topeka stages ever since. Acting would lead Dana to discover a general love for being an entertainer. He'd go on to MC several local events, perform annually as the villainous Harvey Green in Dale Easton's The Drunkard, a vaudeville melodrama, and the longest-running play in Topeka history. And in 2014, he would begin to perform with the Laugh Lines improvisational comedy troupe in Topeka Civic Theater's premier improv troupe. He has appeared in a number of independent feature films, notably as Kicker Billy Wilde in Steve Balderson's soap opera horror film, Helltown. But his pride and joy would arrive in the form of Lucky Us, a web series in which he wrote, directed, and starred in.
Hey, what's up? What are you doing? I'm on my lunch break.
How convenient.
What's wrong? What's going on?
I've been doing battle with this huge fucking smart spider for like 2 hours.
Are you padded up and in the bathroom again?
No. Inspired by their real life. Inspired by their real life friendship, Lucky Us is an odd couple comedy centering on the hijinks of two very unlikely best friends. It can be seen at YouTube, Lucky Us Show, or by searching for Lucky Us Show on YouTube. Who is Dana Shope? Yeah, some people say he's an artist, an entertainer, a comedian, but that's the thing. He is all those things. He's a person that believes that a person's potential doesn't have any limits. He believes in trying new things. He believes that the world unrealistic was invented by those who gave up on their dreams. Trying to tell him no? He gonna tell you hell no. He's Dana Shope, and he does the things. And he is my best friend.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Walter Emmanuel Jones, also known as Zach, the original Black Ranger. And listen, I'm excited because I'm going to be working on this new project called Black. It is a film by Dana Shope, and it is a socially conscious Power Rangers fan film, unlike anything you guys have seen before. So keep a lookout, guys. It's coming up.
Thanks, guys.
Hello, my name is Peter Sponseller. I'm a scrap metal artist and a reclaimed artist, originally from Charleston, South Carolina, working in materials discarded from our world, different waste, different things that people believe are no longer usable. I like to use those as my mediums. In 2018, I decided to take the scariest choice of my life and open up the Clover Gear Studio and Gallery in the Noto Arts Districts of Kansas. It was a big jump for an artist working in the district for nearly 10 years to just decide to go brick and mortar, but it was one of the greatest things I've ever chosen to do in my life. Doing so, I was able to work with the Gilbert Foundation, and we co-founded the Arc of Hope, which is a free veterans art program where veterans get to come and work with me to create things out of their minds to be able to take a piece of art home for themselves. In 2020, I erected Bending Boundaries in the Noto Arts District, which is a piece that represents all of the people and the passion of Noto that we've come together and to create. I wanted to do so in the fact to show people that you can take an old rundown district and turn it into an arts mecca. In doing so, I did more public arts for them, where I erected Hold Your Own, which is on the left, which speaks about the social society right now blindly fighting to get our way of life back, to the Noto Squawker on the right, which was just a piece that was just to show that animals could always be in any part of society. In 2019, I worked with the Topeka Zoo and we did the Roar and Pour program, where I got to work with a pride of lions. And as far as I know, I'm the first metal artist to ever do so, taking a beer keg that they were able to play with over the course of a week, covered in fish and cat food and you name it, and they beat it around. I started playing with shadow casting lamps years ago, where sometimes it's about the actual shadows, not about the actual piece of art when you look at it at first, changing a room into something completely different from what it used to be. In doing so, one of the things I love doing in my shadow lamps is I love using actual skulls from animals, taking the organic and making it look mechanical and doing the opposite with the mechanical. One thing I really like to do is I like to find things from nature. So I like to take insects or fish or anything that I may find and try to capture it in movement. So whenever I make anything, it's very important to show some form of movement, even if it's just stagnant about to pounce. Doing that too, sometimes I don't always like to do the scary pieces. I like to do plants and other things to show how nature can pop up from society that we know. In doing so, I like to find inspiration in the curves and the sway of the leaves and also in the stems. One thing that's always been a big influence to me when I was a child was the Mad Max movies. So it only made sense for me to make apocalyptic weapons in the pre-apocalypse that we're seeing now as the pandemic. I wanted to include this slide because people always ask me how my work goes from beginning to end. So I took these 4 slides to show you how the stallion started from pretty much nothing, a few bearings and a chain, to actual fluid moving horse, capturing the rise of the stallion. One important thing, like I said, is I always have to capture movement in my work, especially in my animals. So it's really important that they have a sense of life in them and movement, even when they're just sitting on a table or maybe on a shelf. Doing so, I also like to do mythical creatures, and I also like to do human organs sometimes. But I also like to create things from sometimes my nightmares. I suffered from night terrors for a long time, And coming from very horrible upbringing, I found that taking those nightmares and capturing them in a piece actually takes them away from me. If you'd like to see more of my work, you can check me out at peter@clovergearnoto.com is my email. clovergearnoto.com is my website. I'm also on Facebook and I'm also on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good night.
Well, everyone out there in here, you artists, the Artists Inc. Topeka cohort, you all just, for those of you who know me, know that I don't get speechless very often. You all are amazing. And it's so cool. I've been looking at these slides for a week now, and I would have never guessed that but I didn't get to see the words. And it's so incredible to see your work illustrated with your words and to get to have this experience with all of you. So thank you to all of you who participated in this, to you artists, you inspiration, you rabble rousers, to the facilitators, to Artists Inc., to the Mid-America Arts Alliance. We've posted a link to this Zoom room that we're standing in or sitting in or in our living rooms in on the Facebook event as well as in Boxcast. So if you're out there watching and you would like to join us in Zoom, then come on over. Thank you to everyone out there who watched. You can find more about Artist Inc. at artstopeka.org. We'll be running another one of these programs at the end of 2020, in the fall of 2022. So if you're an artist and you're out there watching, I hope you'll join us for the next round. Hang in there, everybody, and I'll see you soon.
Yay, congratulations, everyone. Sarah,
Good job,
are we still live?
Sarah. Good job.